Starting out, I did the old finasteride and minoxidil. That's what everyone does, starting out. And after a few months, like I saw like improvement, complacency. Like complacency is an insidious bastard. It will sneak up on you very slowly.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people just need, a reminder, just like, hey, you need to get this in order, whatever this is. And there's drawbacks to hair loss. There are obvious drawbacks. To me, I think they're worth it, even if you do experience certain side effects. I think they're worth trying to manage, as opposed to losing your hair. Because again, that has some serious effects on your social life.
22 years old to 23, post-breakup glow up. Here we go. We have the Cheesecake Factory lead chef. He makes a mean mozzarella stick. Next picture, somehow he grew some hair back, so that woman must have really been giving him an itch to his neck. He was stressed out. Okay, here we go. His head is starting to regenerate, and he's still a manager at Cheesecake Factory. Next picture. Okay, looks like he's getting some more sun exposure. This is nice. Whoa! That took me way off guard. I thought this was going to be unimpressive, but he really did the thing. This is the dark and frightening process.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hair Stacks podcast. Today, I'm with another very, very cool guest, and they're going to talk about their hair loss experience and what they did to actually make the transformation they did. So, would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
My name's Shady slash Tim. Online I'm known as Shady. But I'm 23 and I started experiencing hair loss at maybe 21 is when I first started becoming like a parent, and then 22 is when it just went in full throttle. I'm definitely like an early onsetter. So
yeah, that's I more or less had the same experience. I'm 23 myself. I started losing my hair. I want to say around 16 is when I noticed it, but then it just suddenly picked up. I want to say around the time of the pandemic. But yeah, how fast? Okay, so you talked about the onset of your hair loss. Do you have anyone in your family that was experiencing hair loss before or currently?
I mean, I don't really know my dad all that well. He's bald, but he's also in his late 40s, 50s now, so I'm not really sure when that came into play. But nobody else in my family has hair loss. My brother thinks he does, and I definitely see early signs of it, but he's 26, so the fact that he didn't really get it is kind of weird. Yeah. And we have the same parents, so the fact that I got it, he does maybe, but to a much lighter degree is weird. So
has he ever brought up I guess he probably noticed you going through it. Has he ever brought it up, or has he ever asked you what you did to make the drastic improvement you did? Has he ever asked?
Yeah, I mean, he asked about it. I mean, everyone asks about it, it's not really something you hear about, normally whenever you hear about hair loss, and fighting it, you think it's you think it's one of those things that people like to say that it's a thing. And that's not an actual thing, you like to think it's propaganda, or it's
Yeah.
It doesn't actually exist, but it does. We actually do have tools for it, which is cool. Granted, they're not perfect. There's not, a silver bullet, but everyone asks about it. My brother, he's kind of in a rough financial situation, and that is kind of one of the bigger caveats whenever it comes to this sort of thing. It's it does cost money.
Yeah.
And it's not an insane amount of money, but it's also not an insignificant amount either. And for him, he's barely struggling to maintain a minimum wage job. So, for him to be able to try to prioritize that, it's not really feasible. Whereas me, I'm in a much more fortunate situation. So which I'm very grateful for, but I'm actually able to, provide myself with, the countermeasures that I need. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's good for you. Maybe you can help him out a bit, who knows? Well, so getting into hair loss and the tools that we would use to treat it, in your particular case, what's your hair loss stack? What are you using in terms of, I guess, hair care, but also hair loss prevention?
So I've been through two main things. Starting out, I did the old finasteride and minoxidil. That's what everyone does, starting out. And after a few months, I saw improvement. Because we're at about the 14th ish month mark now.
Yeah.
About. And I saw improvement, but the before pictures, man, it's shameful to walk around like that. It sucks. It's not something you want.
I guess you don't notice it in the moment. I mean, you notice that you're losing hair, but the improvement, again, I want to say you're kind of an outlier too. That improvement was was kind of, substantial. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, like, there might be reasons for that. Might have just been like a good responder, or I don't know, maybe I don't know. I don't like. Obviously, I have my stack, and I have some things that work for me, but that might not work for everyone else, and not everyone's going to respond exactly the same way. But yeah, starting out, like I said, I started with like the finasteride and minoxidil, and like I saw improvements, but not nearly as much as I wanted. I wanted to be able to walk around and be happy with myself, and people don't respect you. For something that's completely outside of your control, and that's unfortunate. That's kind of a tragedy. But you don't, like you said, you don't really feel it in the moment until like you actually make those improvements and you see like how people treat you differently. It's very weird. But I switched to like dutasteride about like I want to say like 7 or 8-ish months ago, and then I also started adding RU. I think about like 5 months ago ish. These are kind of off the hip numbers, but they're around in that general area. But I started taking RU as well, and then I've also been doing derma rolling for about 7 or 8 months as well, like once every 2 weeks. It's 1 millimeter, and that's kind of my primary stack. I tried Nizoral, the
ketoconazole.
Yeah. I can't pronounce that for the life of me. I tried it, and I still have like a full bottle, pretty much. I apply like once every 2 weeks. I don't think it's really done anything. It's hard to say because like a lot of the things I've done, I've kind of added in like a relatively short time frame. It's kind of hard to isolate certain things.
Gradually adding on.
Yeah. I like minoxidil. That one works. I've tried. It works on my beard, which is fantastic. It's a plus. But as far as everything else, I've kind of added those a little, kind of all at once, which I know you're not supposed to do. But when you're in that moment and you're in like looking in the mirror and you're not proud of who you see, you don't really think about that. You're not like, oh, I want to try to isolate each one. Isolate each variable. You're not really thinking about that.
Exactly. You just want to throw everything at it and just get it over with.
Yeah. So, not the smartest decision, but it's a decision I don't really regret. So.
Yeah, and with the improvements you made, it'd be hard to regret that. With the, so how did you even hear about like finasteride or minoxidil? Like, we don't learn this shit in school. So like, how did you get exposed to it?
No, it's actually really sad that like it's not like a more well-known thing. Because again, it's like one of those things that like, people don't like think it's like an actual thing. It's like you just, I don't know, it's insane. But I remember just like looking it up before. I mean, you see like advertisements all the time for like things like Keeps. Again, when you see those ads, you like think, okay, that's not an actual thing. I don't use that service in particular, but you see those, they pop up. And it's kind of in the back of your mind, especially as like you slowly see your hair dissipate, or even if you don't, like it's kind of hard to notice at first. And then I started doing more research, and I just kind of went on my way, and I found the Trestless subreddit, and it's probably the single most helpful subreddit or like source of information, because there's a lot of inconsistent information, and a lot of it is from like people trying to sell you their product, like
rosemary oil or some shit.
Like things like rosemary oil or peppermint oil, and it's like realistically those, even if they do work, it's like I feel like I'm gonna pull more hairs out putting oil into my hair anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I just went to the Trestless subreddit. It was absurdly helpful because for the most part, everyone there is relatively unbiased. Not everyone has the information that they need, but at least everyone is like anecdotally, you can kind of see like what is working for certain people and what isn't.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I mean, sometimes Trestless can be a bit, chaotic. There's that one guy, I think his name is Magic Bold. He talks about leg training and how it can make you a hyper responder, something like that. Have you tried that? Have you tried any leg training to make you, maybe that's what you do, right? Some leg training.
Maybe that's the secret.
Maybe.
I do like squats 2 to 3 times a week, so I mean, maybe that's the secret.
Oh, okay. So you got to tell me, bro. You got to tell me what the fitness thing you did. Like that was insane. Like what was the secret? Like what did you do in the gym?
I mean, it's not a was. It's every. We're never done. I only started lifting and everything like about a year ago, roughly. Like I said, it's probably at this point it's probably like a year and month, maybe like a year and like 5 weeks.
Okay, so wait, you started your hair loss treatment around the time you started going to the gym consistently?
Yes.
Same thing here,
almost
man.
the exact same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, pair them together. That's what I did. I was like, nah, I can't just not do the other, and yeah, I gotta do them both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just like that's the thing, though. It's like once you start doing one improvement, it's like it's like infectious. You know, you want to do more, and like just seeing like the return results is amazing. But the first thing I actually started doing was like 15 or 16 months ago. I just started running like very often. And it's not within the scope of this conversation, I don't think. But like I had an issue with porn. As a lot of young men do, and running was my way of like dealing with that. Is anytime you feel that urge, just put on some shoes and run, go for it. And then the natural extension of that was losing weight and seeing again the effects that it has. And then the next step of that is like I got like a debilitating heartbreak, so I was like, all right, I need to do everything. This isn't enough. I need to do more. And it's addicting. Trying to change your flaws. I started addressing my hair loss and my hair loss and my weight at around the same time, more or less. As far as gym gains is concerned, I don't know. I really don't know. I think I'm a little just lucky. I don't think everyone's gonna have like the same effects whenever it comes to like lifting weights, but it's also like you just got to give that shit like 120%.
True. Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't. Not to say that not everyone does, but sometimes you see people like the same people going to the gym every single day, and like they'll like do like a few reps, and it's like they're not even phased, and it's like, bro, when I'm going, like I'm not done with the set until I'm dripping sweat, like with my first exercise. Like I need to look gross.
Exactly.
It's like I'll literally do as hard as I can, then do a drop set, and it's like it's probably not good for me, but I mean that's what we do.
Yeah, those drop sets can be pretty intense. I used to do that a lot on bench press. I mean, it helps you get strength, but man, it's just you feel horrible at the end of it. But you got through it, and you have this sense of accomplishment, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any friends that are going through hair loss? Has that ever been brought up? I think I asked you about family members, but any like close friends who've, I'm sure they've seen the changes in real time. Have they ever asked like, hey man, what did you do with your hair? Or what are you doing to treat it?
Surprisingly, not really. No, nobody that I know like in real life. There's been a few people that people have come to me because their family member has like experienced hair loss, and they're like, hey, I know that's something you've dealt with. Do you have any advice for this person? And it's kind of unfortunate because I know that they mean well, but like anything I tell them, unless it's like an actual like face, like first of all, I'm not their doctor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to talk to somebody. But at the same time, I also think it's pretty important that like whenever it comes to complacency, like complacency is an insidious bastard. It will sneak up on you very slowly.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people just need, a reminder, just like, hey, you need to get this in order, whatever this is. And, there's drawbacks to hair loss. There are obvious drawbacks. To me, I think they're worth it. Even if you do experience certain side effects, I think they're worth trying to manage as opposed to losing your hair. Because again, that has some serious effects on your social life.
A lot of effects. Like it's absolutely, I don't know. Like sometimes I talk to people on the internet and they're like, oh, you're just you support a big finasteride. And it's like, you just want people to have side effects. You don't really care. And it's like, dude, I'm trying to make sure you can keep your hair. I'm trying to, put out this content so you don't have to worry about hair loss. So you actually find information and, maybe talk to other people who can also help you out as well. Because like you said, the moment you lose your hair, I mean, you probably experienced, positive treatment as you were going through your self-improvement. And maybe it was probably jarring, when you realized you were being treated better as you were improving yourself. So, yeah, I mean, with side effects, you already get a social side effect once you lose your hair, unfortunately. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is it's first of all, as far as like the difference that people treat you, because it's one thing to address hair loss, but also like improving your physique and whatnot. The difference in people treat you is obscene. Honestly, the last thing you want to have to do is like try to deal with that difference, because again, the difference in people, how like they treat you is it'll make you lose faith in people. So
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to put yourself in that position. just take care of yourself from the get-go. Hopefully you don't have to ever deal with that shift, because it'll mess you up pretty bad. But as far as like hair loss and whatnot is concerned, like, again, it's like people don't treat it seriously, because people just tell you, oh, you just gotta accept it, just shave it, it's fine, you're fine.
Shave it, bro.
Like, old people, yeah, just shave it, you're fine, stop being insecure. But it's like, until you're actually in that position, you can't actually say that. Those, like, the only people actually telling you that are people who have like full locks of hair. They don't get to speak from that position.
It's either full locks of hair or completely bald. Nobody in between is ever going to tell you to just accept it and just shave it. It's either one or the other.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is one of the side effects that I think is interesting about finasteride and dutasteride is like depression. I obviously it's more of a considered like a light side effect, but it's one that's like on some labels. And it's something worth addressing. I think I've experienced like, I can't really say it's because of dutasteride, because I think it's more just like, again, how jarring it is. Like, so I've had some like negative mental health side effects, but I think that's mainly because of like how differently people treat you. And and I've had some, negative mental health effects, but again, that's just because of my specific situation. And I confidently believe that even if it affects me a little bit to some degree, because I'm sure it does, I'm sure it affects my mental health in some capacity. But if I stopped now and went back to how I was, that would break me more than any drug ever could. So there's counterbalances to everything. And so anytime anyone ever asks me and they're like, hey, I have this family member, going back to what you mentioned earlier, I have this family member who's dealing with hair loss, and they were kind of considering shaving it. It's like, do you have any recommendations? It's like, anything I say, I can't really relay anything meaningful, because you're not going to be able to quote. If I start being like finasteride, minoxidil, you're like, what the hell are you talking about? But the thing I just tell everyone is just start doing your research. Preventative maintenance is the number one thing. I got lucky. I really did. You can make some growth, you can make some gains and get some hair back. But I got lucky. I am very much in a minority in that situation. You might be able to make half the gains I did, maybe even more, but it's a very small percentage of people that are going to make that kind of recovery. And I still have more room to go. I confidently believe that. Because if this is like a little over 1 year mark, I don't even know what I'm going to look like in 2 or 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you still see more results, you see the long-term results in these things, and it still works. It compounds, but not everyone's that lucky. And so if you start seeing those side effects, you got to address that immediately. Because you don't really understand the gravity of what it is and how it's going to affect you until, you're kind of already in deep.
I certainly agree. There's this one study one of my friends sent me, and it concerned hair loss disorders versus other dermatological conditions. And if I recall correctly, it said something along the lines of people with hair loss disorders experience body dysmorphia disorder 10 times higher than those with other dermatological conditions. So it's kind of like, that's just with other people with, like, again, dermatological conditions. Comparing that to the general public, it's probably even greater than that. So a lot of people, in my opinion, when they, going through hair loss is I know people throw this word around, traumatic, a lot, but in some cases, it can really be a traumatic thing as you watch essentially yourself change in a way where it's not like you can just lose weight. It's not like you can just, eat differently or massage your head, as I think Rob English would say, or some shit. It's mostly like, no, this is a thing that a lot of people think there's nothing you can do about it. And it's changing your looks, and it's putting you sometimes in a really dark place. Body dysmorphia, is a real condition, right? And, a lot of people, they get, other morbidities. I can't speak today, with it, like depression, suicidality, and such. So I think there needs to be a serious conversation before people blame things on finasteride or dutasteride. First, addressing, the mental health aspect of these things before you even get on treatment, perhaps. That's just my opinion on the matter.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like I mentioned, everyone's situation is gonna be different effects. But I do think if you bring up the body dysmorphia thing is pretty interesting, because like, I don't think it's just body dysmorphia. Like, obviously, in my situation, obviously, just like speaking from experience, everyone's situation is unique. I woke up every day, and I looked at the person in the mirror, and I hated looking at that person. I despised it. I have like 5 pictures between like 12 and like 22, partially because of certain situations. And obviously when you're younger, that's not really something I was like really cognizant for. I need to be more like aware, and I wasn't because I was younger. But like between like 18 and 22, I have like very little pictures of me. Like those godforsaken pictures that I have more I can share. I only have a couple with you. But you when you let that thing happen, when you let something like that happen, it messes with you, man, and you like hate who you are, and then just seeing the effect and how differently people treat you. It's not just body dysmorphia. It's like it's psychologically damaging.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like it's not just I'm treated better now. It's also like knowing there wasn't treatments for this 60, 70 years ago. If I was born 60, 70 years ago, maybe even less than that, 50 or 40, I wouldn't be able to make a rebound like that, purely because I'm in a time that we have access to tools like this. That's the only reason that I'm not being just like absolutely shafted by genetics. And again, that's a really dark place that you like enter whenever you're like are losing your hair, and like that's not something anyone ever needs to experience. Is like that like mindset. It's not good for anyone.
Yeah, it really isn't. I mean, in some ways for me, I would be like, oh man, thank God, maybe I could have been born a bit later when we, have like flying cars or some shit. But, I'm here in the time of finasteride and dutasteride, and now it's generic, and you don't have to spend like $3 million just to get it. But, no, like it's a really good point you bring up. Like thinking if you didn't have this sort of medication, if Imperocto McKinley didn't make that discovery, I think it was in the Dominican Republic, of the pseudohermaphrodites and the 5AR type 2 deficiency. I don't know what I would do, to be honest. I don't know what I'd do. I think I would, a lot of people can't admit this, but, I'd have a tough time actually trying to, like, I don't want to use the word, but cope. There's going to be someone commenting about it, but coping, which isn't a bad thing. There are good copes and bad copes. Life is suffering. You have to find a way to deal with it. Anyone that tells you otherwise, they can, whatever, they might be a monk of some kind. I think a monk would actually agree with me on this anyway, but, it's, you have to find a way to deal with these things. And, luckily there is an option. And I think the whole, hardline thing that some of the people from, I don't want to say the bald community. That sounds so cringe. The pro balders or whatever, just telling a guy who's an Nord 2 to just shave it as if he can't be saved. Like if I was a Nord 7, I'd still make my videos and tell people this is what you do so you don't end up like me, right? So you can have a chance, so to speak. And because, to an extent, when you find out about the science of these things, you realize, man, all those times people were telling me there's nothing I can do. There's clearly something you can do, and it's finasteride, minoxidil, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the interesting thing too is like realistically, like we say, et cetera, but like I think for a vast majority of people, like those two alone are enough. Especially if you spot it early.
Exactly.
I think even in like people with like really bad like cases with like their hair loss, I think as long as they can notice it early, finasteride is probably enough. Like if I spotted it early and I started addressing it, a year earlier, I probably wouldn't need to take dutasteride. I probably wouldn't need to use RU. But now I'm probably gonna for this foreseeable future, if not probably the rest of my life, and that's okay. There might be some health side effects there, especially when it comes to RU. Because that one's a gray market drug, and that's
be careful.
Very much. Yeah, it's a last resort. That's I don't know if you saw in the comments, but I refer to it as like the Faustian bargain because that's what it is. You're making a deal. Like you're trying to give up something to get something. You don't really know what you're giving up because it's it's gray market. You don't actually know what you're messing with.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so like the best thing really is just if you experience it early. You got to have like a sit down with yourself and just really think about it. Like, do I actually want to be bald for the rest of my life? Because, we get one life, you give up that hair, it's gone. It's not coming back. You got to address that, and you got to have like a serious conversation with yourself, like as soon as possible.
But it's also the honesty you get from others, right? I'm not sure if you probably experienced this, but you may go up to a friend or a family member. Hey, do you think I'm losing my hair? Oh, nah, you're fine. Maybe the next year, am I losing my hair? They slowly look up at your hairline and, this face of, just disgust or whatever. They're like, oh no, you're fine, man. And bald people look great. You'll look good with a shaved head. So it's like, at what point do you stop listening to others unless you have somebody who's brutally honest in your life? I'm not I'm not sure if you went through this, but at what point did you just stop listening to others who said you weren't losing your hair?
That's a really good question. I'm actually really glad you brought that up. First of all, again, it's hard to notice because, you wake up one day, and you look in the mirror and there's maybe one less hair. Look in the mirror next day and there's two less hair. It's a slow and gradual process. And like you wake up every single day and you don't really notice it's happening. It's the same thing with being overweight as well. But it's slow to onset, and you look in the mirror and it's like, it seems obvious. Like you look back at your hairline and it seems obvious, but like looking at yourself, you see your hairline and you're just like, oh, that's just how it is. But realistically, it wasn't always that way. Even if you look in previous pictures, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'm just getting like slight, 20s. Maybe it happens. It's normal. It's normal that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically it is, but that doesn't mean we should be okay with it. With the moment I stopped, like the moment I acknowledged, okay, I need to figure this out. I need to do something. Was I went to the barber one time, and I went to multiple barbers, and like for some reason I could just never get a good haircut. I wonder why. But I went to the barber one time and he was like, hey, I'm going to take a picture for you real quick. And I'm like, okay. And he showed me the top of my scalp, and it's like, there was like a giant ring of just like almost no hair, just like, in like that one spot, we all know it, the little donut spot. And it's like,
yeah,
I look like I'm in my 40s. So it's like, and then also the area around that is progressively getting thinner. It's like a little valley. And it's like, when did this happen? When? I don't even like, I could have sworn like a year ago, I feel like I was in like late 19s, early 20s. And again, you don't really notice it. And like, when you look at that picture, it does stuff to you. So, you really just got to take a picture of your scalp and just like assess where you're at, because like it starts out in an area you don't even see,
No, it really does sneak up on you, right? It's kind of like the frog in the boiling water and just jumps out when you throw it in, and then the frog, you put it in the water and you gradually heat it up, and then maybe it just dies, right? Yeah, that's really what it is. You wake up every day, look in the mirror, you don't even question it. It's like, maybe if you do, you're just like, well, it's just, it'll get better. I guess that's what you probably think in the back of your head. And people need to understand, like, no, like once this starts, first off, you don't know how fast it can start, right? Because I've talked to people, they went from like a Norwood 2 to a Norwood maybe 5 diffuse within a year. And again, that's I don't like throwing this word around like I always say, but it's that can be somewhat traumatic. I don't even know if you can fully recover your psychology after you get treatment once you have gone through something like that. You're probably always going to be criticizing your hair to some extent. So, yeah. Have you ever considered like going towards the route of a hair transplant, or were you like, okay, I'm just going to try treatment first?
No, it just wasn't in my scope financially. It never was. Like in that picture, the main one, I was working at Cheesecake Factory, like $2 about minimum wage, to make like $16.50 an hour. It wasn't even a conversation. So that's the reason I started with like finasteride. Is like it was coping. I was like hoping that hopefully this will fix it. By a miracle, it did. Obviously, I had to take a lot more extreme measures in order for me to like see like the results I really wanted to see. But it did. And I'm very lucky for that. I'm very grateful for that. But no, as far as like a transplant, that was never in the conversation. And I'm glad I didn't, too, because again, it worked out in my situation, but I can definitely understand why people, resort to that as like the first move, because it makes sense. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you thought about, are you aware of any like upcoming treatment, anything that you're particularly excited about?
I'm not like super up to date. I definitely like see a few new ones coming out, but it's like, even dutasteride, it's like, it's barely, even you barely get it prescribed, and it's like, maybe you'll get it from like one online, clinic, but everything else is like mainly like finasteride. Like most of the thing that's like being pushed down people's throats is like, the finasteride by itself. And I mean, that's fine. Again, it's pretty good in most people's situations, but a lot of people's it's not enough. So I mean, I'm definitely open to hearing about more, especially if I see some actual like studies on them being
Hmm.
put out. I think RU in my situation, I mainly did it because it was anecdotally like it is effective. Again, obviously the huge caveat there being you don't know what you're getting. It's Pandora's box.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be more than open to see other drugs and see what other things that work, as long as there's something to back it up. Maybe not anecdotally. I don't think I'd use anything else anecdotally because I've seen what works for me. But if I see like actual tangible studies, absolutely, I would be so interested.
Yeah. I mean, actually, it was on the 10th of, man, it's so late here for me. What is this? July. Wow, I forgot the month. I mean, it might be some brain fog from Dutasteride. That's a joke if anyone's listening to this, but if someone's gonna clip that and then they're gonna say, "You see, he's fucking up." But yeah, no. Yesterday for me on the 10th, uh, Kintor released pyrolutamide, so it's supposed to be an alternative to RE58841, and it's actually being officially released right now as a cosmetic. So, I mean, I would say try to look into that whenever they officially release their online store. That could be something to ponder.
Mhm.
Um,
No, absolutely.
yeah.
I'll keep my eye on.
Let's see what else. We actually ran through a lot of topics. Oh, so going back to the whole point about like social standing. I mean, you don't have to elaborate too much on it, but you talked about people started treating you better. Can you like recount any instances of maybe there was someone you like consistently saw in your life, like a friend or maybe like, someone maybe even closer than that, where you noticed their, I guess, behavior towards you kind of changed? Maybe they were, more outgoing when they saw you, or they're, I guess, happy to see you, or a bit more energetic around you as you were making improvements, or pretty much anything. Like, if you have any stories about that.
Yeah, this is a really good question, but it's also kind of hard to answer because like whenever it comes to these things, again, it's subtle, and
Yeah.
you also don't even realize like what it is until after you've made some significant progress. Obviously, we're all from. I'm sure most people are familiar with Halo theory, and that's essentially that people are more gravitate more to attractive people. But the severity by which that's the case is it's scary.
Yeah.
And that goes in the opposite direction too. I think life is all about thresholds, and I think I was below a threshold that people wanted to interact with me. I not to to give an insane amount of context, but I was like a virgin going into my 20s. I had a hard time getting any friends, much less sustaining like the one friendship I did have starting out. People barely wanted to interact with me or engage with me. Women, whenever they talk with them, they it's like I don't want to say like a look of disgust, but like especially going into my 20s when I was working at Cheesecake Factory, like that's what it was. And
Yeah.
then seeing that difference, it's not just that people treat you better. It's not just that it's easier like getting friends. Like I can just ask people out now, like friends, relationships, anything. I can just invite people out and people say yes. It's not like it's not something I'm scared of anymore. And part of that obviously is because I'm more confident now. But it's also because I just know that like people don't look at me with like that same look anymore. It's hard to describe, but people do have that look, and I think it's just human nature. But it's the weirdest part about it, the most jarring part about it, wasn't how other people treat you, because that part is to be expected. That much is obvious. It's the way that people respect you more, and including your family, which is the most scary part.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, my family, before it was, Timmy is like, he's growing, he's still working on himself, it's X, Y, and Z. And now it's like people look at me with like a look of like reverence. Um, it's hard to describe, it really is. But like people give me like, especially people who I've already known and like have seen my difference and have seen that adjustment. I mean, people treat me better, but like especially people who have seen like the jumps I've made, and it's like people just like admire me, and I hate it. And I don't think, again, I think that's a very strong word, but it's traumatic. Even if you are like going from like ugly to attractive in a short time frame for a multitude of reasons, that does stuff to your psyche, and that's not something I would wish on anyone. So
Yeah, I mean, there have been, I think I saw this before in some like study somewhere. Maybe I'll put it on the screen. But there are instances where people who, after they go through some sort of cosmetic procedure or improvement, plastic surgery or whatever, where again, their looks drastically change. Um, people start treating them better, like you brought up. And everyone would think like, oh, okay, you should feel better. But I guess it's that stark realization that, man, my life was horrible before. Imagine if I didn't do this. It's yeah. I mean, it's probably not the best thing to dwell on it too much. But it is something that is a real phenomenon, and I think there's a lot of maybe I'm getting conspiratorial here, but social gaslighting when it comes to these kinds of issues, where somebody would say, "Hey, I want to solve my hair loss." Oh, dude, you don't need to do that. What you're taking? What is this? Finisterdine and Disteride and Minoxidil? You don't need this. Listen, you just need to love yourself. And it's like, yeah, you love yourself enough to try to make that improvement. I think that should be part of the discussion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually think I'm glad you brought that up. Because one of the biggest adjustments that I've made in like my own psyche, again, there's like a lot of negative things, but this is more of a positive thing, is when you realize that people don't like talking about stuff that they either don't understand or are just uncomfortable with. And people would rather just dismiss something than to just take something full front. Like if you bring up balding, people would rather just tell you, oh, it's fine. Just shave it. You're good. Don't worry about it. Stop it. Don't sweat it. But people do that with everything. It's more than just hair loss. It's also weight loss. It's X, Y, and Z. People will tell you, women love dad bods. They don't. They like the low.
You sure about that, man? Because I saw a guy on the train today going to New York City, and it looked like he was getting a lot. And I mean, I listen. TikTok said otherwise. I don't know. You might be lying to me.
Fair enough. But I think generally speaking, people just don't like the effort associated with that.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, and one of the things that I've learned through that experience is, if you ever have that like voice inside your head that's like, I need to address this, I need to be doing something, obviously some things are outside of our control, and you just have to learn to accept it. Some things are like that, but not everything. Not everything. And when you realize that there are things you can be doing, things you can be doing better, when you listen to that voice that's like telling you, even if other people want to tell you, oh, you're fine, don't worry about it, you're fine. You should do it. Like if you tell yourself, okay, I don't really do much, I need to start running, or maybe, porn isn't good for me, or maybe I need to start going to the gym, people will tell you, no, you're fine, don't worry, it's not a big deal, you're totally fine, don't sweat it, it's normal. Ignore all those. Once you like stop listening to what other people say and you just start listening to that voice inside your head that's telling you that you can do more, that you can be more, like you will become the person you want to be. And obviously, again, it's not all positive. So that's like psychological effects. But you can become the person that, the childhood version of you wants to be. You just got to stop listening to other people. And I know that sounds kind of like vague and kind of pretentious, but it's true. Like if you tell yourself, I want to get rich, I want to start a business, you don't do that by watching TikTok all day. You start by actually, investing in yourself, like working on an education. And going back to that as well, as far as like halo theory is concerned, I do think like if you want to propel in life, the easiest thing you could do is just work on your appearances, because you will have so many opportunities opened up to you from that alone. I went from working at Cheesecake Factory, making $16.50 an hour, getting like 20 hours a week, to making like a little over 60,000, which isn't a lot, but for 23, like that's really good.
Yeah, you're ahead of the curve when you're at that salary mark at 23.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah, exactly. And a large part, I'm fairly confident, I pretty firmly believe a large portion of that is just because I don't think I would have gotten that same position if they saw the version of me from like a little over a year ago. And it's kind of tragic to look at life from that lens. But it's kind of how it is. So
yeah, I mean, it's sorry, what'd you say?
I said I know it rants a lot. Sorry about that.
Oh no, dude, that was a perfect monologue. I'm not like that was actually I might clip that part and put it in the intro. That was really nice.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, like I mean, it's hard because some people aren't that motivated enough, and just to first even look to solve the problem, right? Like, there are a lot of bullshit hair loss treatments out there. Like, I can understand why somebody would look at this and be like, this doesn't work. Because what you have the rosemary thing, I think now they're doing what, olive oil or strawberry oil, or I didn't even know you could get oil from strawberries. I didn't even know that. It's just a lot of these bullshit sham treatments are on the market, and I can, if you're not reading studies, no one's going to sit there and read Olsen et al. 2006, the study of dutasteride, a double-blind, placebo-controlled, blah, 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 trial of, head-to-head different arms of a study. Not many people have the patience or time or wherewithal to sit there and read through that, right? They're looking for, hey, this works. And a lot of the advertisements we see today, they're very deceptive. They're just not going to show you the truth. Even with something like Keeps and Hims, these telemedicine companies, they don't tell you that, okay, although you may get improvements within the first couple months, that you need to consistently take it for X amount of years to see the maximum benefit at, say, year 2, at, say, year 5, depending on your Norwood scale. Maybe that's not advertised. You can't really put that into fancy terms, right? But I can see why some people think there's nothing you can do because there's just so much noise, and also the anxiety behind side effects, right? Like for me going in, I was like, listen, I don't really care if I get those sides. If going through hair loss is, I think, the side effect of not doing anything. And, I guess it's easy for some people to deal with. I think most people never really, they're forced to deal with it, right? They have to come to terms with it because they don't know there's something they can do. And, imagine finding out after your Norwood 7 that you could have done something. I don't think I'd feel good if I was at that point in my life.
Dude, I can't even imagine losing all of it and then just be like, what if, because those are the scariest questions for anything where you're asking yourself, what if. I do think you bring up side effects is actually a really interesting one. The Hims and Keeps and whatnot, I think they'll put on certain studies, and they'll try to put out certain studies that underplay how significant the side effects can be. I don't think they're obscene. I don't think it should be scary enough that you completely rule it out or anything. But it's also downplayed by them. I think the studies they put out will be they'll list happens in less than 1% of situations where you have something like ED. I'm pretty sure it's higher than that. I don't think it's an obscene amount higher than that, but I do think
it's between 1 to 5%, between that range. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not significant, but it's not insignificant, and so I understand the fear, and it's also very easy to nocebo yourself into it and just be oh, I'm going to experience side effects, and then as a result, you kind of gaslight yourself into experiencing them. But the thing is too is again, going back to my situation, it's all about me. I was a virgin.
It is
going to my 20s. Even if I had side effects, what good? What?
That's a funny and good point. I don't want to even sound like an asshole, but a lot of people are yeah, I have libido issues, and it's but then they tell me they're not even doing anything. It's
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. Congrats. I mean, if anything, if it's slowing down your sex drive, bro, I think that would make your life a little more stable, and you wouldn't be suffering. You're not getting anything at the moment.
Yeah, and I did have slight side effects with finasteride, not dutasteride, which is interesting. You would think it'd be the other way around, but obviously everyone's situation is unique. It wasn't debilitating. It was my libido was slightly lower, but everything else was all good. And if that's the worst I'm going to get, then who cares? Because again, you're not using it otherwise, and it's at worst, I'm just not as excited. Once or twice less a week. Who cares? I'm more productive.
Yeah, that's true. You become more productive. You don't have to think about beating it up.
Yeah, literally. And I think the interesting thing too is chances are maybe it might have been more significant had I only taken the prescriptions, but combining that with weight loss and strength training, and it's I mean that's that's going to counteract. That's gonna, I obviously it's mostly conjecture. I just not really study on that, so that I'd be aware of. But I have to assume. I think it's a pretty reasonable assumption that losing weight and exercising, having a way better cardiovascular system than I did ever before.
Yeah.
Even if I had side effects, it is completely just blown out of the water just by the fact that I'm like a machine now. Whereas before I was just sitting on my ass all day. So.
Yeah, well, they do say like the more body weight you have, or particularly fat, the more estrogen you're going to be, holding on to in your system. So again, losing the weight, and I guess when you take 5-alpha-reductase inhibitors, you are messing with your androgen to estrogen ratio, and in some people, some of that testosterone aromatizes into estradiol, and that sort of imbalance, maybe favoring more of that estrogen, can cause those sort of, libido side effects, or even in some cases, very, 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 very rare cases, mood side effects. But people have to be aware first, like doing blood work, doing consistent blood work, being aware of where you are on the, testosterone reference range and your estrogen levels. I just think a lot of people need to be aware about their biomarkers, before, even during, and potentially if you quit after treatment, right? Like every 6 months or to a year, if you're able to. I know in the United States, it's kind of fucking annoying with, some people's healthcare plans, but, for much of the, I guess you can say, more developed world, you can make these particular efforts. But again, it's about hearing it first, hearing that you can do something about it. And many people, decide to put their head in the dirt and kind of ignore it until it gets too bad.
Yeah. And then at a certain point, I have to imagine that, there's no gaining that ground back. And I can't even imagine just thinking, what if I had started sooner? What if I addressed that? What if I opened up 2 or 3 different studies and actually looked at it as opposed to, looking at the advertisements? What if I actually did a few hours of research, even just a couple, how different your life can be from that alone. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Aside from hair loss, are you doing anything like in the skincare sort of department? Like, maybe trying out a skincare stack of some kind?
I did for a little while. You can probably see in the pictures. I had like a little more significant bags underneath my eyes. I tried some stuff for that. I don't remember the name of it. I don't think that did anything. I remember one of the comments, people like talking about like how I'd probably given up alcohol. It's actually the opposite. I drink a little bit more for social reasons. I just get invited out more.
Yeah.
But like the bags have gone away underneath my eyes, and pretty much everything, like my skin complexion has improved. Everything has improved. Things are just like better now. But I haven't like done any like skincare routine other than that. Like I tried something, but it didn't really do anything significant. I feel like it was kind of a scam. The main thing I do was obviously I'm better with my beard now, especially it's more filled out because I put minoxidil on it.
Real quick, bro, I'm going to jump in real quick and ask you, how long did that take to fill out your beard with minoxidil? Was it like a year? And are you still using the minoxidil on the beard?
Yeah, so it was pretty significant actually. It was like I'd say around like the 7th month mark is when it's reached like this level of fullness. Maybe it's like a little bit different, but like around the same level of fullness is like around the 7th month mark. Granted, I think that's mainly because I just wasn't as like consistent. Because I don't know. I just thought like maybe it only worked for my head. Which I know like there's different systems for like your head versus your beard versus like your body hair. There are different systems, but it did work for my beard. I don't know if it works anywhere else. I wouldn't really have any incentive to. But it did work then. It's obviously very significant. I'm very grateful for that. Which is, I think that's probably the most interesting thing too, because it's like, even if you aren't experiencing hair loss, it could still like improve your beard, which is like, even people who don't suffer from balding or hair loss can still benefit from like this kind of information, which is cool. I think that's interesting.
No, like I completely agree with you. Yeah. I used it on my beard before I used it on my head. And within a year and a half, I noticed some pretty crazy changes. My beard got better, and I just discontinued it. And still to this day, it just grows as it was, even better, right? So, yeah, a lot of people don't understand like the utility, like for something that can grow hair on the body, it might have other applications elsewhere, like in your beard, like you said. The same thing can be said about latanoprost and bimatoprost. These were two glaucoma drugs that were used to relieve ocular pressure on the eye, and they found out that, it's growing people's eyelashes. So they put it into a product called Latisse, being bimatoprost, and women can use it, or anyone really can use it to grow their eyelashes and even eyebrows. And now they're using it on people's scalps, and people are getting results from that who can't respond to minoxidil. But I think in your case, you might just be a hyper responder of some kind to minoxidil as well. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, I'm definitely a pretty good responder. I'm very grateful and very lucky for sure. Obviously, I mean, there's always things like, we like to tell ourselves that, it's consistency, it's hard work. But I mean, at the end of the day, I got lucky. Obviously, you can always make improvements, but the same level of improvement, it's definitely not guaranteed. It's possible, but guaranteed, no. So, I mean, it just varies. And obviously, some things work, like you said, some things work for others. I think minoxidil probably works for most people, whereas something like Latisse may be different, especially when it comes to women. Women's hair systems are different, and obviously, I wouldn't even try to attempt to understand that, but it's not really relevant to my situation. But I mean, I'm very grateful for it. So,
yeah. Let's see. Man, we really burned through all these questions. That was a lot. I'm going to see. Okay. So if you had advice for anyone in the audience who was having side effects, right, to dutasteride or finasteride or any sort of hair loss treatments, right, or advice for people who are kind of anxious about this, having the idea that they have to take a medication for the rest of their lives just to maintain their hair, how would you get them motivated? What's some words of advice and encouragement that you can give them to push them in the direction of actually trying to save their hair?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think we've said it before, but you don't want to be looking in the mirror a few years from now, and you're past the point of no return. You don't want to be looking in the mirror, and you don't want to hate yourself because of bad genetics. So that's the last thing you ever want to do. And there are certain things in life that, some people get luckier than others, but this is something we have control over. This is something that almost our generation alone and almost no generations prior have had access to. And going back to bodybuilding as like a quick side tangent, I think that's an interesting one too, because we have so much more information. We have so many more tools when it comes to bodybuilding now as well.
Exactly.
If you look at bodybuilders from the 1920s, like obviously a large portion of the reason that they look better is because of steroids. But even just like the average bodybuilder is like far, far more impressive than, 1920 bodybuilders. And that's because we have information. So we have tools and we have access to things that many generations never had access to before. They got screwed over by genetics, but that doesn't mean we have to. We can improve our physiques. We can change our hair. We can do a lot of things. We are in a very, maybe not a perfect time. I don't think there's ever such thing as like a perfect time. But we are in a pretty privileged time, and we have access to things that you should not take for granted. You should do research. Obviously, there are drawbacks. It is not a miracle drug by means. None of them are. But the side effects are honestly pretty insignificant, especially in contrast to the life that you're going to lead and how much better life is going to be if you actually keep your hair versus if you lost it, or if you sit around and you do nothing, as opposed to if you had gotten up and you start lifting or you start doing things, you start being the person you want to be. Because we got one life, and the last thing you want to ever do is regret and look back and just, feel shame because you didn't do what you should have done.
Yeah, that's the part that, scares me. Like, and that's actually what got me into the gym, along with, starting finasteride. I was like, I'm going to be old one day, possibly. Who knows? Hopefully I'll be able to have some sort of mobility. But maybe I won't. And to waste a moment like this just sitting around, that's not good. Right? And also to go back to what you said earlier, oh man, the picture thing was so true. Like, you don't even want to take photos when you're going through that. And you realize when you go through your camera roll, aside from all the other photos of you just taking pictures of your scalp or whatever, not like I have like a ton of that or anything. But aside from going through your camera roll, like you notice like, oh man, there's like this large gap where I only took pictures of things, and I stopped taking pictures of myself. Because of this hair loss issue. And yeah, that's that's pretty tough. Yeah.
No, it is. Especially because, the point of pictures is, to like, photograph and, pause moments of your life in a picture. And I remember deleting pictures of myself because either A, I was thinning hair, or because B, I looked fat because I was, or C, my jaw looked wrong, which, you could probably see in the earlier pictures. I had like more significant dental malocclusion. I've gone to the dentist, and obviously that's something I've worked on, as you can tell. It's not perfect. I don't, but it is significantly better than it was.
Yeah.
But, I would always delete pictures or never want to take pictures for one of those three reasons. And, all three of those things combined, like you said, you like years of your life where you don't have pictures, and you're not gonna be able to look back, a few years from now and see how much progress you made. Like, I don't have any pictures of me. Like, the most I weighed, I was about 240 pounds. I'm about 180 right now, but I don't have any pictures of me like shirtless. And I really wish I did, because I really do want to make, I do want to share more progress photos in the future, 2-3 years from now, as I've made more progress, because there's always more of the work that's being done.
Yeah.
I'll stop the day I die, but there's always more work to be done. And I really wish I had better benchmark pictures to work with, but I was just so ashamed that I never even looked in the mirror, much less wanted to take a picture. And, that's not the type of life you want to lead. So do your research, obviously you got to make that decision for yourself, because there are side effects. They're menial in comparison, but ultimately it is, each individual and person's decision. But it's a pretty easy decision in my mind.
Yeah, good point. And now something that's not so hair loss related, the gym. Dude, tell me your gym. What's your typical gym week like? Like, what do you do? Any like sort of programs like push pull legs or what?
So my routine is it's a little weird. Again, because of my job, I work like in the building across from a gym, like directly adjacent. So
damn, that's so convenient. Fuck.
Yeah, it's great. It's not working from home, but it's basically like I can work out at lunch. It's not all I do, but usually what I'll do is I will Monday through Friday during my lunch, I'll get like a quick 30-minute workout, which is usually two different like key like body parts, and then I'll like superset them. So like Monday it'll be like shoulders and like biceps, and then the Tuesday it'll be like legs, and then Tuesday afternoon, like after work, I'll do bench and then back, and then Wednesday I'll do like abs, just kind of give the rest of my body like a minute to reset, and then I'll just kind of repeat the process. It usually ends up being about 12 sets for my arms, for my chest, for my back, and then for my legs, and then I have 6 for my abs, and then I just fill out anything else on Saturday, and then Sunday is rest day. So I only go to the gym like outside of work hours 3 times a week, but technically I'm going like 8 times a week, technically.
Damn, that is still solid.
Yeah, I am like, I'm not like, there's still time between each like workout. Like Tuesday will be like my first leg day, and then Thursday afternoon will be like my next leg day, so my body still has plenty of time to recover. Obviously there's an argument there to be made about like using your arms twice in one day, but I don't think it's a big deal. In fact, it's kind of nice because it's very easy to like be burned out after you've done a lot of exercises, but when you're only doing like 12 different exercises, and then later on in the day you're doing like another 12, it's very easy because they're like split in half, and it's very easy to stay motivated. So it's nice. I'm very grateful for it.
No, that's like a really comprehensive gym plan. Yeah, I used to do something similar when I was in uni. I would go like probably 5 days or 6 days out of the week, but yeah, it's mostly like the push pull legs kind of thing. But like, do you like bring anyone to the gym, like any like brothers, friends, or anything, or are you like a solo kind of person?
I did go solo at first. It's worth bearing in mind I also run like 6 days a week, which probably isn't good on my system, but whatever. But at first, for like the first like 6 months, I can't pronounce my S's from using right now. For like the first 6 months, I went by myself, And then I started going with one of my friends that I actually met online playing Apex, which is interesting. Like I met him like 4 years ago. We'd been friends for a while, but we just hung out one time in person, and we've just been going to the gym ever since for like the past 6 months. We go every Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday. Usually, what's kind of been happening recently is instead of like doing like a workout by myself, we'll usually go climbing, like to like a bouldering gym, and then anything else I'll just fill out. Because like climbing is kind of like a back day in my mind. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's climbing's pretty intense. I tried, but you mean like rock climbing, right?
yeah. It's like an
Yeah.
indoor like gym kind of thing, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they're fun. It's expensive though.
You were never part of like a club or anything, or?
No, we usually just go us two. Sometimes we've been having like a third guy come out with us, and sometimes we'll get like +1. Sometimes people will get like day passes. We had a group of like 8 people once, so like we'll just have like a bunch of people that will just like want to come climbing with us. But usually it's usually pretty consistently just both of us.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Going a bit back to hair loss, though. So is it even on your mind that much these days?
Can you repeat the question? I apologize.
Sorry. Is the subject of hair loss even on your mind as much as it was before these days?
I don't think it's ever going to go away. I still, I think like a few weeks ago, I woke up just like in a cold sweat. I know it's like a very typical like, oh, here we go kind of thing, but it's like, it does have an effect on your psyche. It becomes like a prominent fear. It's kind of like that dream you have when you're growing up where like your teeth fall out. It's like that.
Oh, I still have that, man. It's crazy, but whatever. Yeah, continue. Okay.
No, you're good. But it's like the same thing. You just like dream that like one day you're gonna brush your hair and all of it's gonna fall out because it feels fake. It's like this isn't mine. It's not. I don't know. Have you ever seen like those videos where someone has like a phantom arm?
Yeah, and they can like feel the pain or something. Going through it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like that's the feeling I get. Like how I imagine being in that position feels. That's how I feel. Whenever I have that, and obviously, it's probably not a good thing, and it has gotten better. As I've gotten more confident in it. But it's still a pretty short time frame that things have changed. It's barely been over a year. And if you're familiar with the hedonic treadmill, the hedonic treadmill essentially says that like whenever your life has improved, that happiness or joy or like anything that's associated with it, it's like a treadmill. It's usually about the 2-year mark is when it takes for things like to really settle down. Like if you went from making how much you make now to like 100,000 more, you would be happier for about 2 years. At least that's the theory. That's what the hedonic treadmill is. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but that's yeah. I think I'm still within that time lapse where it's like I'm still adjusting, and it's especially exacerbated by the fact that I'm not done adjusting. There's still room to be made. I think that's kind of the core of body dysmorphia is like it's not just that I've made progress; it's that there's more progress to be made. I was watching a video, and it was like one of those like gym lifting videos, and it was like body dysmorphia isn't the idea that you're smaller than you are. It's it's because you know that you can be bigger than you are, which is dorky, but it's true. And the same thing applies to hair loss as it does for the gym. That voice is telling you that improvements can be made, or it's there because improvements can be made. Again, there are certain things that can't, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to accept that. There are certain factors about ourselves that we can't change. But those are two that we do have a lot of control over. And they do have a large impact on our life and how we're perceived. There's no reason to let them slip by and be complacent about it.
That's certainly true. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to just not do much if you're kind of depressed about, these conditions. Like I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes the goal is to try to motivate people to at least, give these things a shot. Even if it's like maybe not treating hair loss, but at the very least going to the gym, learning a new skill. That's probably a good one. But sometimes, people will listen to you. They try it out for a couple months and then they just go back to what they were doing. It's kind of disheartening to see, but you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just it is what it is at that point.
No, it's brutal. And I think most people have experienced that where it's like you want to do something and it's like hard to be committed. I think I had like a mini period with my brother where we went lifting at the gym for like 3 weeks and then we gave up. I think most people have kind of experienced something akin to that where they're like, I want to change, I want to do something different. I want to get big. And then you give up after like a couple days. I think it's pretty normal. But I think I was myself, I was in that mindset for a long time too, where it's like, it's very easy to just like let days slip by. And it's like, you tell yourself you're doing enough, you tell yourself what I'm doing is enough. For me, in my situation, I was working originally at the time when I was like 21, 22, was like, I was going to school like part-time, like 9 credit hours. And I was 22, I should be pretty much done with my bachelor's by now, but because I switched majors and I moved around, and then also I just wasn't really going that fast. I wasn't even trying that hard either, so my GPA was low. You tell yourself, "Oh, I'm working on my bachelor's," but it's like I'm really not though. I'm a lot of it, not a lot of this stuff is stuck because I've been kind of lazy about it. I'm not really doing it at a rate that like I want to be able to do, and I don't think you should like overwhelm yourself. I think you should still obviously allow yourself to be able to enjoy life. But it's very easy to work on one thing and tell yourself I'm doing enough. When in reality, you can be doing multiple things. You could be doing a lot. Like if you want to work out and you want to start working on your aesthetic and you want to get big, or you want to get stronger, you don't have to go to the gym 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. You can literally just do like 40 push-ups at home. If you have like an apartment gym, start doing pull-ups at your apartment gym and then do some quick squats even once a week. Literally, you could do like an hour, maybe 2 hours a week, and you're going to build a pretty gnarly body within a couple months. And you're going to be look in the mirror and you're going to be proud of who you see. It's not even that hard. You don't have to do an insane amount. Realistically, 6 like different sets for like each body part a week is more than enough to like do like I think it was like 60% of your overall hypertrophy. You just do a couple sets, and like that's insane. Nobody actually like thinks about that because you think, oh, I need to be doing like a billion exercises. But you don't. You only need to be doing a couple and just doing it really hard. Same thing with hair loss. What you just open up the cabinet and take a pill every night. Maybe apply a little bit of liquid to your scalp. Oh no.
Yeah.
These aren't hard things to do. It's hard to like develop that habit. That's brutal. We are creatures that are very resistant to change.
That's true.
Change. Yeah. But once you kind of start doing it and you like force yourself to do things you otherwise didn't want to do or you're scared to do, it's kind of addicting. You want to do more things. I very soon I'm going to start doing outdoor climbing, and I'm doing a lot more things that I never saw myself doing, and I'm putting myself in positions where I'm doing things I never saw myself doing, and I'm like as introverted as it gets. I'm very much an introvert. You probably don't look at me and you think that, or at least for like the last picture that I provide. But I am like I'm a very nerdy introverted guy, but now I'm like a lot more expressive because I force myself to be, and that's not something you just change overnight. It takes months, it takes more than a year.
And reinforcement as well.
yeah. And one thing I've learned too through my experience too is confidence. People like to say, you need to be more confident. You need to be more confident. And the secret that I've learned is that you can have innate confidence. Some people do, but not everyone does, because that's arrogance. Confidence is proving yourself to yourself. I did a Spartan, like a 10K Spartan and like a 5K Spartan earlier in like February. That was cool. That was, to me, that was like a significant jump in my progress and who I am and proving myself that I am like capable, because I was like doing cool shit. I was jumping around, climbing stuff. Like people like struggle to climb a wall, whereas I just like pretty much just ran up it like an absolute monster. It's cool, and like seeing yourself do something like that, that gives you confidence. It's not something that's like you just snap your fingers and you're different. You got to prove yourself to yourself. You got to be able to run, 1 minute today, 2 minutes tomorrow. And then, in 3-4 months from now, you're going to be running for 30 minutes straight, going really fast. And you're going to be like, I'm kind of a beast. And at a certain point, you're going to go from, being, insecure and scared. I mean, like, obviously, some things never change. But you're going to feel a lot more confident because you've proven yourself, not to anyone else. Obviously, that's a bonus, but to yourself, that you are capable of changing who you are. You are capable of being a different person. Because the person you see in that picture before, like the before ones versus the ones I have for the later, and I can provide you more whenever we're done this call. But they're not just a visually different person. It is a completely different human being. And part of that is because I forced myself to. So
The experience, experience is like a really important thing. Like, I guess that sounds kind of like a platitude, but experiences shape people, right? And you going through the drastic change you went through, and possibly, all these things changing around you, people treating you better, people treating you differently, that again, reinforcement being that being the reinforcement probably makes you a bit more outgoing, right? Now you're coming out of your shell, like you said, drinking more, because I'm going out more, right? Going to places, meeting more people, more opportunities, more chances to network. And it's all because you took that, those 2 steps, going to the gym and taking that finasteride, right? That's these points can really go understated because a lot of people don't see the potential development that they could make. And I want to say, dude, you did a phenomenal job with just what you did. Like this, I think when you posted it on, I think it was a Tressless. When I saw it, I literally dropped my phone. I was like, I gotta talk to this guy. I gotta interview him because it's like,
thank you.
It's insane. Like I thought I don't know, man, like parallel universe or some shit came in and you just swapped that other guy out. But you did a good job. I gotta congratulate you. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. And like I said, I'll send you some pictures after we're done with the call too. Just as far as like some intermediate photos are concerned, just to prove I didn't get a hair transplant in Turkey. But also because
have people accused you of that?
Quite a lot. A lot of people are
stressless, right?
Well, actually, I posted on glowups as well, and it popped off. But a lot of people were
sorry. We posted on what?
I'll send it to you. It's a glowups r/glowups. It's
okay,
yeah. It popped off hard. But a lot of people were either saying one or two things. Was either steroids, because like that amount of growth in a year isn't like feasible. Which
those people don't, because a lot of people don't even fucking go to the gym to begin with, and then they think they're the fucking natty experts in town because just fuck off. Some of these people are just so fucking annoying when I hear that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I get it too, but it's like, I don't know. Part of me, it's like, I understand the criticisms because I've made it like an insane amount of growth in like a small period, but it's also like, if I think about it from the perspective of like, if I'm looking at the people around me at the gym, and I don't want to criticize people, for going to the gym. Obviously, it's a learning process. There's always things we can be doing. But when I see the same person who's been going there for a year straight, and he's still on his phone, just like doing like the lightest exercises I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Trying. Yeah, it's not like you're old. Even if you are old, you're less likely to get osteoporosis because your bones do get stronger as you work out. There's no reason not to push yourself. Just do it. Obviously, if there's certain exercises you're afraid of, like squats, I get it. Just do it. Give that every fiber of your being, and you're gonna be proud of it. You're gonna be excited to go to the gym because exerting yourself, it's a good feeling, especially when you put on like a really insane song. It's like it feels good, and it's I don't know. A lot of people are just speak from a position of like, I didn't see that kind of growth in 1 year. And it's like, yeah, probably because either A, you didn't really lock in your diet, or B, you probably didn't train that hard. Let's be real. Because a lot of people don't. And that's okay. It is a learning process. Not everyone's going to like lock in their first year. I don't think I have it down to a T, but I do have it down better than I think most people do. And again, that's because we have access to information and we have access to resources that most people don't. And that people are afraid to actually look at research and be like, okay, this works, this doesn't. And actually look at it from like a critical lens. Anyways, sorry, that's a side tangent. Point is, I had a lot of people criticize me of steroids, and then also a lot of people were saying I went to Turkey. And then also the third one, there was a few people saying this just isn't the same guy. It's just a different person. Which I think that one is interesting. I can understand why people would say that because it's a big jump. It is a very big jump. So I understand it, but like I'll send you the intermediate photos, but I mean, you can kind of see the amount of work that, that actually went in because you just slowly see the transition. And I still love looking at it. It's kind of like a dopamine rush, just like seeing, my own hard work and,
Dude, you should go on TikTok with this kind of stuff. I think you'd blow up like pretty fast. I'm being honest. Like, first off, the whole like transplant thing, because I've heard that happen with other people. It's like, oh, you just got a transplant. It's like, okay, not everyone can get a result like that, even with a fucking transplant. Okay. Two, fuck off. And three, yeah, it's like, what's the point of even pointing that out? Are you like jealous or something? Are you trying to like dissuade people from using finasteride or minoxidil? Or like, I don't get when people complain like that. It's actually pretty weird.
Yeah, and it's that's the thing too. Is like even if I did get a transplant, again, it's so what? I really hope like part of the reason I like sharing that stuff and like telling people about it is obviously A, because obviously everyone loves talking about themselves, but also B, like again, like that kind of thing will break you. And that has a mental toll on you. And, I don't want anyone else to have to live with, that regret of, being like, what if I had done that sooner? I like being able to tell people like, it's not over, let's look into the options, at least know that those options are available. Because the last thing you want to do is, have to have it happen to you as, lose your hair, or, let years of your life go by because of complacency. And then it's like, maybe I should have done something. Maybe I should have, but it's too late now. And that's not a feeling I would want to ever want to subject anyone to. So like, I'm more than happy to tell people about it. And, if people make the recovery through a hair transplant, power to them. Really power to them. Because obviously some situations might be so extreme that it's beyond the point of return, in which case you might need to do a transplant. It just kind of depends. Obviously, you should talk to your doctor. But I mean, if it works, it works. And power to anyone, regardless of what method they use. Obviously, I think most people should, go for the more conventional, appropriate routes, like avoiding REU. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I can't, I'd be a hypocrite to say that, I wouldn't judge. I wouldn't judge someone for going on that route because, again, it's the route that I took. Is it probably the best route? Definitely not. Is it the safe route? No. But again, do I regret it? No.
That's I think I'll have to leave it there. That was a good point to leave it at. If there's any closing words, closing remarks aside from that, you're welcome to give it.
No, that's mainly it. I don't like. I think you brought up TikTok. I don't really have anything. I don't really use any social media. I'm just like a normal guy. I share myself on Twitter because I like to, but I mean, I don't really have any like social media. So, I just, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not like promoting anything. I don't have like a TikTok or anything at the end of the day. I'm not trying to get people to watch me or anything like that. I'm just a normal guy. Just wanted to share, hey, it's, there are improvements that you can make in your life. And the only person you're making an excuse to is yourself. Because I'm not selling you a product. I'm not selling you, some random course or I'm not, selling you anything. At the end of the day, make those improvements in your life that you've been wanting to for the last few months or years or even decades. Do it.
There we go. Well, guys, that's the end of this Hair Stacks podcast. I want to thank my guest for coming on, and it was really, really nice talking to you, Shady.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
See ya. Well, guys, that's the end of that podcast, but now I have a little bit of a bonus section. We had a conversation at the end, and it had a little bit of, some additional insights, so I thought I just would include that there. So I want to thank my guest, Shady, for coming on again, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the podcast. And this amazing transformation that he had by just losing weight and also addressing his hair loss. Remember, guys, there's always a choice when it comes to these kinds of things. Just don't wait too long and make it happen.
That's the third one from the bottom, the one where I'm in like the gray shirt, where it's like kind of like a white shirt, silverish. That one I believe is in January. And that's the first picture where it goes from like, I think you obviously see improvements all around, but I think that's the first time where I like looked at a picture and it was like, what the fuck, dude? Because it's like, I go from like, oh, improvements are being made. Oh, he's relatively handsome to like, hold up. What the fuck? Who is this guy? That's the first photo where it's like, things are different. The second one from the bottom, my hair isn't like it's super perfect. But that's fine. It's not always going to be, sometimes hair is going to be a mess. But that's not a big deal. I love it.
Yes. So like, what month was that? Do you recall? Like, was it like
Yeah, this one I'm pretty sure is January. I can double check
J-
for you real quick though.
January? Yeah, because that's pretty insane. Like, it's like, man, at what point did I start, changing? And then you just kind of look back through your camera roll, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's like not even that long ago. It's
Oh, I didn't ask. What's your diet like? What do you typically eat? Like,
oh yeah, no, I mean, you can always listen if you'd like. I don't know how you do things. But as far as
mhm.
my diet, a salmon, a lot of salmon, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went like a mini bulk for like 3 or 4 months there between like September to like January ish.
hmm
I kind of just ate whatever as long as I got my protein intake. I didn't really sweat it too much. That was like because I feel like if I'm constantly monitoring my calories and my protein and anything else, I feel like it's very easy to get like a bad like relationship with food. So when I was doing like a mini bulk, I try not to worry too much about my calories. Obviously within like a good range, but I try not to beat myself about it. As long as I
Yeah.
have my protein intake, anything else is fine. During my cut, which I'm on another cut now, just like a mini cut, I'm obviously locked in. I want to have a good, like, I need to do the exact amount and try to shoot for a very specific goal. We're not always going to stay on track. That's okay. I'm not going to beat myself about it because, again, sometimes you drink. Sometimes when you drink, you might want to, have a snack and it might be a little bit of a setback, but hey, that's life. But for the most part, my primary diet consists of just salmon, literally just salmon, and maybe I'll have salmon and rice. That's usually what my dinner is, which probably isn't like the best diet ever, but it's also not the worst. So I'm
I
not
mean,
really beating myself about it.
yeah, so that's not the worst. Like, no, not really. Like, I'm more or less the same. Like, I eat salmon, tilapia, rice, and maybe like rice and tomatoes. Actually, I try to eat more fruit because, believe it or not, when I was younger, dude, for like 10 years, I was allergic to fruit, starting at age
Really?
10. Yeah, it was weird. I was eating it, before 10, like all the time. And then I just developed like an oral allergy where if I eat like an apple or something, my mouth would just start swelling up and my gums would just bleed. It was weird, really weird. And I had to take allergy shots for like 10 years. And then now I can eat fruit, but it just doesn't, it just feels weird eating fruit. It's kind of, I don't know, really odd things that can happen with the body.
I mean, I think that makes sense. You're like, because like before you weren't able to eat it, so you're kind of like conditioned to have like some hesitation with it.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Uh,
mhm.
I don't mean to cut you off. I actually lied. The gray picture is in March, and then the one before that is in like late January. So the one in like the blue shirt is late
The
January.
blue shirt. Okay, so gray picture, March, blue shirt,
Yeah.
January.
I think I can edit it real quick. I can put those two for you.
I mean, if
I think
it's not too much, I don't want to like,
I think you should just be refreshed. I should be able to type it in because I'm still signed in. So yeah, just so if it helps keep a timeline at all.
oh, dude, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Oh man, you had so many, 23,000 upvotes. Yeah.
Yeah, it popped up.
The comments is, see some salty people, man. This is kind of, I mean, that's Reddit, but
Yeah. I mean, there's like I think there's always been a few salty people, but like I was honestly kind of surprised by like how many there kind of weren't. I feel like a lot of it like was pretty well received, and like a lot of people were like super supportive, which is cool.
yeah,
Like 96% upvoted for something that's like a glow ups is kind of insane. Because like most people, whenever you look at like that kind of transformation, most people might even be like a little bitter about it. Like be like, oh, why can't I do that? So like 96%, that's pretty good. I'm like that's I don't know. I'm not too upset about that at all.
I see some comments. I'd be beside myself sobbing if my ex looked like this a year later. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one of the comments that was my favorite one. It was like someone give him Mjolnir's hammer is obviously worthy. Thought that was pretty good. But yeah, I mean that's a little over a year. It was kind of interesting because I actually met a few people in real life who were like, "Hey, I saw your post," and it's like, okay, because if you like I think if you click on the link that I sent you, it'll show you how many shares you have, and it was like this was shared like 6,000 times, which is an insane ratio of like 6,000 to like 20 through like 24,000.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's a lot.
yeah, I think a lot of people like who don't use Reddit saw this. Like, I think this was much more like widely received in like
Dude,
most.
low key, you actually might be on someone's TikTok right now. I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
was.
You were?
Was.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
that's one of my friends was like, I was on my home reels or what is it, my For You page. I don't use TikToks. I don't know the phrases,
Mhm.
but they're like, I saw you on my For You page, and he sent it to me. It wasn't like a big channel or anything, but I can send it to you. I thought it was kind of funny.
That's still cool though. Like, damn, dude.
Yeah, this guy. I'm sure there's probably more, but this one was kind of funny. He looks like Dash when he's out of breath.
22 years old to 23. Post-breakup glow up. Here we go. We have the Cheesecake Factory lead chef. He makes a mean mozzarella stick. Next picture. Somehow he grew some hair back, so that woman must have really been giving him an itch to his neck. He was stressed out. Okay, here we go. His head is starting to regenerate, and he's still a manager at Cheesecake Factory. Next picture. Okay, looks like he's getting some more sun exposure. This is nice. Whoa! That took me way off guard. I thought this was going to be unimpressive, but he really did the thing. This is the dark and frightening process of individuation. You can tell he really had to overcome some deep conditioning within himself to come out on this end. That is extremely impressive. 11 out of 10.
Yeah, because this improvement is like, dude, it's like, top like 99 percentile
Yeah,
type shit. That's insane.
I mean,
From 22 years old to
from, like,
23. Post-break.
I think I'm pretty attractive now. But like it's not just like a glow up. It's like going from like bottom of the barrel to not is. I mean, that's kind of like not really something you see every day. And again, that's a really short time frame. I don't know what I'm going to look like in 2 years. I'm assuming it's probably not going to be a whole lot different, but it's going to be still an improvement. Maybe not like to the same degree, but I'm going to be slightly better looking. And I mean, like that's 1 year progress. Like I'm very grateful. I know I'm just talking about myself a lot, but like, I'm very grateful, man. It's hard to put into words.
I'm looking at these reactions right now. It's like, whoa, as soon as it gets to the last photo.
Yeah.
I guess, I remember, I think I was like, I was on the train commuting. I was like, oh, it's tech trustless. And then I'm like scrolling through, I'm like, okay, progress. Whoa, what the heck? I thought you were like AI for a second. I was like, what the heck? Okay, someone's using AI on trustless, but that just goes to say you did some crazy, crazy fucking work, man. This is, dude, I don't know. This might be a little bit demotivating for some people, low key. I don't know.
I mean, again, I think a part of it is because I started from such like a low spot, and I hope nobody has to start from that low spot. It's. I think underneath it all, like I think I just had like some pretty decent genetics to work with. So like, I just wasn't like taking advantage of that combined with balding. But it's it's going the difference in how people treat you and like that kind of a gap it's insane. I hope nobody else ever has to experience something like that, because again, it has a toll on you. It really does. It'll mess with you. And I mean, I think everyone can benefit from their own glow up because of like weight loss or, going to the gym and, improving their aesthetic. I think everyone can do some level of glow up. I think that's within the realm of possibility for everyone. Because again, the gym's the first thing that comes to mind for most people. But I think too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Like in my case,
Yeah.
it's like the difference where it's too jarring will like, it'll temper your ability to trust people, and it'll, mess with you because, I know you're finished your episode, but I mean, if you want to ramble,
No, you keep going, bro. You're good.
thank you. But like, you if you're friends with people or like you're in like relationships with people, it's like, it's very easy to look at it from the perspective of like, you wouldn't care about me, if I wasn't attractive, and
Yeah.
it's brutal, especially because again, I was like a virgin going into my 20s. So it's like, it's not like this is like, oh, I was ugly before. It's also like, it's confirming things to you, like this worked, this worked. Like I went from like completely unable to find anyone to even be remotely interested in me in like any capacity, friends or relationships, to it's easy now. And that'll mess with things because it's like you'll know. It's not like I think people treat you differently. It's I know people who treat me differently, and that's I hope nobody ever has experienced that. Which is why recently I've talked to anyone about it. It's like if you notice it, just address it early because the last thing you ever want to do is see how badly people can treat you.
Yeah, that's man. I think I hear this all the time from people who make substantial changes. It's just, well, happy I did it because I'm loving how I feel, but I never did it. It's like you don't realize it. It's kind of weird. You don't realize the change you could have got until you actually made that sort of change for yourself, maybe at the very least. And then you see everything else, opportunities, doors opening up for you, people more enthusiastic to see you. Maybe people staring at you, nonstop. But yeah, it's GG. GG.
Yeah, GG, I guess, yeah. I mean, that's life, you can't let it beat yourself up too much. We are just monkeys in suits after all. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. Just, take the wins where you can get them. And do whatever you can to make it so those wins are possible. Because I said it before. I'll say it 1,000 times over. We're in a generation where we have access to things that most people didn't before. There's some things you can change, like height, and some other things. But
you can get the limb lengthening surgery. Just break your bones.
Well, just snap them. I mean, even then, it's what? Like, even if you're kind of insecure about your height, even it's like you can just wear a shoe that gives you like a little half-inch lift, and it's like nobody's going to notice. You'll be a little bit happier. You'll be more confident. Who is it hurting? No, it's not hurting anybody. It's going to give you a little more confidence, give you a little more game. Again, hair loss, you can address that. You can go to the gym. You have access to so much information, and you can improve your financial situation really well. Whereas maybe before that wasn't as tangible. Obviously, it's a rough economy, but realistically, if you really put in the work, you can, kind of climb out of a financial gutter. I really do believe you can. And you might not have been able to do that before. So again, we live in a pretty lucky time, and I'm very grateful for it. I mean, my journey's not done. Nobody's ever should be done. Nobody should ever close that chapter in their book. You open that chapter and you keep writing until the book is closed, until you're out of pages. So
I'll get Apex one of these days, and maybe we can play a game, bro.
Hell yeah, brother! I'm down. Cool. Just let me know.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta head to bed, man. It's like 11:44 a.m. here. But
oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, dude. Also, I'm not sure if you're on my Discord, but you're welcome to chat with other people. I think other people play Apex, or not sure if you play League. It might be a sin on my server, but some people play League too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I wasted so much time playing League, man. Ridiculous, hours. I don't even want to install that shit ever again, man. It's just worst thing in my life.
Pandemic?
Yeah, I was playing during the pandemic.
Don't beat yourself about it. Look, if anything during the pandemic, everyone had one of those games. Don't beat yourself. Those 2-ish years, it happened. Don't beat yourself about it. Anything outside of that, maybe a little bit, but those 2 years, don't trip. It's fun. I like to look at that as the long summer break, just a really long summer break that everyone got. So I don't know.
I mean, the world was frozen during the pandemic. Nothing was really going on outside because of lockdowns. But it was, yeah.
It was interesting. I think we're seeing some of the ramifications of that set in now. But I mean, hey, such is life.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever want to play something, I'm totally down. I'm usually pretty scarce for time, obviously. Yeah, if you ever want to play anything, if you ever look for people to play Apex with it, yeah, I'm down. I speak a few times in Discord. I'm more than happy to get involved a little bit more. Just because, again, it's one of those things that, I'm more than happy to help people and just kind of give them morale. And, it's very easy to lose hope going through the process and be
oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's is this really going to work for me? And it's yeah, it is. Maybe not to an insane degree, but it's going to work in some capacity. Just have some hope. But anyways, I'm done rambling. I'm gonna spare you.
Oh no, it was a pleasure, dude. Honestly, really.
Yeah. I will ask whenever you do upload it. Please send it to me. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Do you want me to blur your face out or
No, go crazy. Do your thing. You're good. Okay. Feel free to. Like I said, I don't have anything I'm promoting or anything like that. Feel free to put my face in there. I'm not tripping. Because I do think that's part of it. I think that's part of the gravity of the kind of the situation is how much of a difference can be made.
Exactly.
Feel free. I'm not tripping. If it helps your channel, I really hope it does. So yeah.
Thank you so much, man. See you later.
Of course. Have a good night. Bye.
Yep. Bye. What a good conversation. Cool dude. Amazing guy.